the current situation, if you go from this chart from the bottom towards the top, every alarm from every appliance gets into and out of Orchestrator. And some large enterprises and or service providers will connect third-party systems like an alarm collector, which then feeds a ticketing system, and so on and so forth. We're going to enable alarm correlation, and then think of it as two layers or two phases. One is the Edge Connect appliances themselves determine what is the highest in the hierarchy. Send only that to Orchestrator. So instead of sending every alarm to Orchestrator, it will send the highest of those alarms that are correlatable. So I've done a first stage filter, if you will, at the Edge Connect level. And then added to this picture is this alarm correlation engine. The Orchestrator will run an alarm correlation loop every 30 seconds. And then, depending on your options, display those correlated alarms. Now, I've highlighted in red the areas that are impacted here. So the Orchestrator UI, email recipients, remote receivers, and these SNMP guys, they're not going to get the benefit of the alarm correlation engine because the alarm correlation engine runs at the Orchestrator level. This is the left-hand side is the standard view, and the right side is correlated view. If you go to the Orchestrator and you go to support and user documentation and alarm descriptions, you'll download a CSV file. A new column has been added that says correlatable, and there's only like 8 or 9 of them. There's not that many. There's a type ID. And 65537 used to be the message ID for tunnel down, all tunnels down. For any customers that currently use remote receivers, WebSocket, Syslog, Kafka, webhooks, and do any kind of processing on this feed. Tunnel down, 65537. That's now just for underlays. Pass-through tunnel down, 65549. Third party down, 6550, etc. Overlay tunnel has a different number. So we split out the alarms for the various types of tunnels. Anyone that's highlighted in yellow is a new message ID. It's a new alarm, new, relatively new. May be new with this feature or may just happen to be new because we've done some additional work. The green checkbox says I'm using this message ID as a correlatable alarm or is of the class correlatable. At the bottom, this is the highest in the hierarchy to the left, lowest in the hierarchy to the right. When I said Edge Connect is only going to send its highest hierarchical alarm, if I have a physical hardware box and I pull the cable out of it, now assuming there's more than one cable to the box, I don't kill the box with just pulling one cable, you'll get an interface down alarm, message ID 196617. That's the highest. It's not going to send any of these others, namely 25 tunnel downs that are the result of you pulling that cable. If I didn't pull the cable, but I went to unplug my cable modem, I get a next hop down. Interface is good, next hop is down. That's the next level of hierarchy, so on and so forth. IPSLA. We notice there's two different IPSLA alarms. There's 262189, the original version, corresponds to anytime I have a bio that has an internet breakout, and on that label, you'll be able to have this alarm because I'm probing the internet. You might say, well, what happens if I have MPLS only and I don't have an internet breakout? Then you won't have this alarm. So I mentioned earlier, the Orchestrator correlation loop runs every 30 seconds. What happens if you have flapping alarms? It doesn't solve that problem. This is meant for alarms that last in terms of minutes or days. Does not affect the topology map. So people use the term sea of red. And you look at the topology map, the red lines you see on the map are tunnels and specifically tunnel status. So if the tunnel is down, the tunnel shows up as red. Those are not alarms. So doing anything with alarms doesn't affect anything to do with the links that are red on the topology map. Edge Connect alarms are still displayed in the tree. So I mentioned earlier that Edge Connects are only sending the root cause alarms. So if I have a mesh, the appliance name Bob is down, all Bob's neighbors are going to complain about Bob. They'll still have that alarm showing. But you might notice a difference between the number of alarms you see in the appliance manager view versus in the orchestrator. Because remember, EdgeConnect is only sending its hierarchically highest. It doesn't mean it doesn't have those other alarms. They're still there if you go to the appliance manager and look. Correlation does not consider hardware. Like, oh, if my disk fails, no wonder why the network is failing, because I have a disk failure. Hardware or appliance box related alarms aren't really considered. LAN side alarms, not considered. Think of the correlation engine domain being a WAN side interface or a WAN side label. So if you have multiple WANs, there are multiple correlation instances on a given appliance. These services don't necessarily tie directly to a label. Appliance in maintenance mode, we don't do anything special about it. If it's in maintenance mode and all the tunnels are down, it'll say appliance name Bob, who's in maintenance mode as tunnels are down. Correlation settings, standard, correlated constituents, correlated. These are the things I send to remote receivers. So don't send any RCAs. We don't recommend this one. I do recommend correlated only. So you cut down on tens of thousands of alarm messages down to 1 or 2. Email recipients, same thing. You can get emails based on severity or correlated constituents. Do emails based on correlated. System template. There was a tunnel alarm aggregation threshold. We repurposed that binding. So it's the same spot, but does something completely different. So before, this would be raise individual tunnel alarms until you hit the threshold. When you hit the threshold, it would send, if it was set to 10, you'd get 10 clear messages and you'd have a many tunnels down alarm. In the new scheme, this is just a threshold. It's a tunnel alarm raise limit beyond which you get a counter. 10's fine. I don't think you need more than 10 tunnel alarms. There's another hack that people would do, which was just to disable tunnel alarms, 65537. Don't do that, especially 65537, because now it reflects underlay tunnels. Alarm correlation depends on tunnel, looking at all those tunnel alarms and making sense of it.